All right, we're ready to go with another edition of Florida Football Insiders, our preview show. Todd Grasley, TJ Rives. We're amped up. We've got 4 college teams, 2 NFL teams in action, games all over the place, some big ones. We even have a Friday night game with the Miami Hurricanes, but Florida State in action with Clemson, Florida and Georgia on Saturday, USF undefeated, and then on Sunday, little early start for the Jaguars in London, little Buccaneers. There's something for everybody.
It's a jam-packed schedule, and I think the highlight of this weekend is Florida, Georgia, the world's largest outdoor cocktail party. These two teams have been going at it since the early 1900s, and they don't like each other, and it'll be obvious on Saturday in Jacksonville.
All right, one more time on the schedule. Miami, Boston College, Friday night. That is a Friday night ESPN game in the ACC. Then on Saturday at noon, early start, Doak Campbell for Florida State and Clemson. Florida, Georgia at 3:30, and then USF under the lights with the Houston Cougars. For the Hurricanes, Friday night game at Boston College. They are still smarting after the loss at Virginia, and now another tough road test against BC. Their top running back, A.J. Dillon, has 600 yards rushing already on the season. The Canes and that stellar defense have got to be ready to stop him. And what's going to happen here at quarterback between Malik Rozier, the veteran, you've got N'Kosi Perry, who's the redshirt freshman. They both may play in this game. Mark Richt may go back and forth to both quarterbacks, trying to settle on one of them. Miami still has hopes to win their division. They've got to get a road game here at Chestnut Hill against the BC Eagles. It's a national television game coming on Friday night on ESPN. All right, for Florida State, they had a shaky start to the game last week against Wake Forest, fell behind 10-0, but then rattled off 38 unanswered points. So the Nole fans were a little squirmy at the beginning of the game, but then everything worked out well. Now here comes Godzilla. Clemson, which has really owned the ACC and has beaten Florida State in each of the last 3 seasons, rolls into Doak Campbell Stadium, ranked number 2 in the country. They beat a very good NC State team last week, so Clemson heavily favored. 17-point favorites in Tallahassee. I actually like the Noles in this game to keep it close, if not win. Can DeAndre Francois stay away from the turnovers? Can Florida State's offensive line protect him some? Can the Noles hang in at home? Will there be some magic early on Saturday at Doak Campbell Stadium? We're going to find out.
Cheers. It's the world's largest outdoor cocktail party. Over 80,000 fans. The stadium will be split red and black, blue and orange, right down the middle in Jacksonville as Florida, Georgia collide in an SEC showdown. Both teams had bye weeks. LSU kind of destroyed Georgia's hopes of being in the national championship. They're going to try to rebound against Florida, who had an off week as well. They're coming off a win against Vandy. They've won 5 straight, including 4 conference wins. This one, always a great showdown when these two teams get together on the gridiron. You look at the names that have played in this game. Tim Tebow, Herschel Walker, Steve Spurrier. It goes on and on and on. NFL alums galore. Who will get the better in Jacksonville on Saturday for Florida? They have a running game attack in Pirine and Scarlett. Georgia counters with Holyfield and Swift. Holyfield, the son of the great boxer of Vander Holyfield. Jake Fromm, a great quarterback as well. Can the Florida front 4 stop that rushing attack of Georgia? Can they force Fromm out of the pocket? It's been a back-and-forth series between these two teams. Last year, Georgia beat the Gators 42-7. We'll see what happens on Saturday in Jacksonville. USF. Coach Charlie Strong's team has been criticized all season for their wins against less than quality opponents. On Saturday, they'll have a primetime matchup in Houston, who leads the American Conference West Division right now and is 5-1. USF sits behind UCF in the conference standings. And for Houston, they're led by Ed Oliver on the defensive end. Oliver, a consensus top 5 pick in the NFL draft. Some have him going as high as number 1. Can Houston stop Blake Barnett and the USF offense? Jordan Cronkite leads the Bulls with 5 consecutive touchdowns. Last time these two teams met was a year ago. USF, ironically enough, 7-0. Who handed them their first loss of the season? None other but the Houston Cougars.
Florida Football Insiders preview brought to you in part by Furman Nissan. From now to the end of the football season, get an exclusive offer from us at FFI, a $500 Amazon gift card with any new or pre-owned car purchase. Go to FurmanNissan.com to see more of the great deals. All right, on to the NFL schedule, and for this weekend, it will be an early start. Jaguars have flown on the bird across the Atlantic to London, their traditional home game being played at Wembley Stadium with the Eagles. Buccaneers are also going to be in action. So as we take a look at the schedule, that's an early game Eastern time, 9:30 in the morning Eastern time for the Jags and the Eagles. Bucs are in Cincinnati. I'm part of the Buccaneers radio broadcast team. Buccaneers taking on the Bengals. That'll be Sunday, 1 o'clock. And for the Jags, hey, nothing's going right in the continental U.S. You might as well go to England.
And it's a place they've had success. We'll talk a little more about that. But for Blake Bortles, he's 3-0 across the pond. So look for the Jaguars to try to revamp things, try to get things going, and maybe use this as a momentum turner in the season.
All right, again, for the Buccaneers, they are back on the road for the third time in 4 games. Again, this one coming at Cincinnati, their first regular season trip into the Queen City, going all the way back 8 years ago. They did win that game 8 years ago. That was also their last 10-win season.
The Jacksonville Jaguars are in dismay. They've lost 4 out of their last 5, 3 in a row. Starting quarterback Blake Bortles benched in the second half of last week's game as the Jaguars lost 20-7. But good news for Jags fans, they travel across the pond to London and Wembley Stadium, a place that Bortles is 3-0 in the Jaguars' last 3 games. Offensively, they picked up Carlos Hyde from the Cleveland Browns. Leonard Fournette, he's missed 5 straight weeks. Is Hyde the answer? They thought it was Jamal Charles last week. Can Hyde come back in and fill that void? Their offense will need to get the ball rolling if they want a chance against the defending Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles, led by Carson Wentz and Zach Ertz, who's in the top 10 this year in receiving yards. We'll see how it all plays out Sunday morning in London.
For the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, it did not come easy last week. Had a chance to win the game in regulation with a 40-yard Chandler Catanzaro field goal, missed it. Go into overtime, things looking bleak. It ends up being a 59-yard field goal for Catanzaro for the win. That's the longest field goal in a sudden death game in NFL history. How about that for the Bucs to get back on the winning track and snap their 3-game losing streak? Now the opponent is Cincinnati. Stay in the AFC North. Beat the Browns last week. Now play the Bengals on the road this week. Bengals got hammered by the Kansas City Chiefs on Sunday night. How angry will they be with Andy Dalton and A.J. Green? That's the dynamic duo that the Bucs secondary better be ready for. Meanwhile, for the Buccaneers, a bit of a struggle on offense, specifically Jameis Winston. He had 3 turnovers, including 2 in the second half, 1 in the overtime. He's got to cut down on those on the road. Buccaneer defense with 5 sacks a week ago. They were much better under new defensive coordinator Mark Duffner. It's going to have to be that way in Cincinnati. Again, the Bengals trying to contend with the Steelers and the Ravens for the division. They know they need a win. Buccaneers trying to keep up with the Saints and with the Panthers and the Falcons. They need a win as well. We'll see what happens in the Queen City coming on Sunday. And Todd Grasley rejoins me one more time. All right, so we got the buffet in front of us, a Friday night game for the Hurricanes. And again, thank you to the football gods and the ESPN schedule makers that we've spread all the games out. I can watch every single team this week because none of them are playing at the same time, starting with Miami Friday night all the way through the Bucs game.
It's a beautiful thing. You get your mix, and hopefully you have enough time and the kids don't get in the way, and you get a little chance to watch.
All right, so we've already touched on USF at Houston. There are a lot of people outside of the Tampa Bay area that think that the Bulls are just a fraud. Are they going to show up? Are they going to play well in Houston? Give me a thought real quick.
I don't think so. I think Houston's quarterback is too dynamic. In high school, he was on the Manville 4x100-meter relay team that was nationally ranked, so he has the speed. He threw for 3 or 4 touchdowns last week against a tough Navy team. And Ed Oliver is one of the best defensive ends in the country.
All right, so that's the Bulls' task. We got the world's largest outdoor cocktail party coming with Georgia and Florida. Can Florida State hang in with Clemson? We'll find out. Will the Jaguars go to London and extend that 3-game London winning streak? I don't know. I mean, they got to do something right now. They are in a tailspin, Todd, real quick.
I think they can, and I think they just need to find their identity offensively. Can Carlos Hyde provide that spark?
I am off to Cincinnati with the Bucs. We'll see what happens. I'm on the radio with Gene Deckerhoff and Dave Moore for that game. I think we're ready to go. For Todd Grasley, I'm TJ Reeves. Thank you for watching this edition of the Florida Football Insiders Preview.